Well, hello, folks. Thank you for joining us. I see that we have over a dozen people here already. I guess most of you came from the premiere of episode 248. And we have both storytellers with us here, and I believe we can have them in. Oh, look, they made a little bit of an adjustment there. That's good. Now we got them both. So, folks, here is Jesse and Mandy. Here we are. So, uh, here's our storytellers. If anyone in the chat has any questions for them, this would be a great opportunity to make it happen. So I see Nini says hello, and I believe that's a new name. We haven't seen your name in the chats before. It doesn't mean you haven't been here. I just it looks like a new name. And there's Wendy Parrish. You guys remember Wendy? I bet. Uh, Jesse, Mandy, you guys remember Wendy? Oh, I don't hear you.
Oh, yeah.
There you
Okay.
are. Okay.
I had me muted.
All right. Cool.
Hi, everybody.
Where's Nux? Nux. Yeah, Nux was here a live event or two ago, Brad. It was one that you weren't a part of. I figured you were probably taking a nap or something, or maybe changing the tennis balls on your walk or something like that. And haven't been active. Xiaoning Hall, thank you for joining us. We haven't seen you in here in a while. It seems like, at least you haven't said anything. So while we're here, why don't we start? We could get Mandy and Jesse to talk a little bit about what the experience of being interviewed was like for you guys.
So you made us feel super comfortable with the interview. We were scared, to be honest. Like, how were we going to tell the story? How was it going to look? Was just what to say, but you made it totally a comfortable experience, sharing a very uncomfortable part of our life.
Well, thank you. That is, of course, that's nice to hear. So, what about you, Jesse? You're sitting over there awful quiet. I I
No, it was
can't let that go.
No, we can't.
um you made us feel really comfortable. And you know, you did an amazing job with the words that we spoke and putting it into something that's, you know, I magical, maybe not the right word, but the video was amazing. Um we can't thank you enough to for this.
Well, I'm grateful to you guys for sharing your story, and I imagine that all of our viewers here are as well. That these stories do so much to comfort people who've been through similar loss, and to help those that are still in that looking for a pathway to recovery kind of uh, situation.
Yeah, we definitely want to help anybody that we can. We are not ashamed to tell our story and to talk about Zach and what happened with Zach and how it affected our family because, I met somebody in the park that I just talked to, and she's like, "Oh my gosh, I'm so ashamed to say my son's struggling. Her son was struggling." And I'm like, so we talked and bonded, and I was hoping I was encouraging to where she could find some strength and get some help. And I don't even know what I'm saying, but that's just our hope.
Very cool. So there was a couple of comments. Grace 911. My son has been struggling for 10 years, overdosed 8 times that we know of. All I can do is pray he changes or want to change. As a parent, it's not our call. That's a tough spot to be in. It sounds very similar to where you guys were at.
Yeah, my heart breaks for them.
We hear from a lot of parents and siblings as well that are in similar situations. Yes, K9, he died in rehab in a sober living facility. And Grace says your story does help. You guys are seeing this, right? Hey Jesse, you can move over a little bit. Look at there. There's Jesse. Okay.
I was trying to send a link to one of our other kids.
Ah, cool. All right.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad that's all. That's our only hope is that we can help. And that's why you're doing this and why you shared to us why you're doing this is you want to help.
It is. I am on such a cool kind of odyssey with this that I hear a lot of tough stories, but wow, I've met such awesome people in the course of doing this that it's for me. I'm living the dream, getting to do this kind of stuff, and you know when you guys did your story, when we did the interviews, there's this thing that I do at the end, and the whole way through the interview, I know that's coming, and it's this just this way cool little moment, right?
Yeah. Yep. I know what you're talking about. Are you talking about?
It's not a secret here.
Oh, okay. We talking about the lifesavers?
Yeah.
Yeah. That was amazing. Yep. And it's sad that you have that many.
Holy cow! I have to order them from Amazon. It's so hard to find the rolls. You know, like you can go to Walgreens or something and get these bags that have individually wrapped candy. No.
Oh, we need more than one.
It's got to be that. It's got to be that roll, you know, with that banner on it. Look, I can put it right there, and it'll focus maybe. There it is. Look
There
at
it
that.
goes.
It's got to say that. It's got to scream that when I put it in the storyteller's hand. Hello, Carla. Carla, welcome. Thank you for joining us. Very glad that you're here. You guys, I don't know if you guys have seen uh, Jesse and Mandy. I don't know if you guys have seen Rain's story on our channel, but Rain's mom is here, Carla. And we have a few storytellers in the group. There's Carla and Brad and Wendy. And who else? Who else is in the group who has shared a story? Wendy says she still has her lifesavers on her desk. These turn into snacks for me when I'm on the road. I'm going to be driving to Wichita in a couple of weeks, and this could be my lunch on the road.
You need to eat lunch.
Yeah. Actually, we're supposed to have lunch in Oklahoma City with some of the storytellers. Some of the storytellers and some of the people that are here in the chat are going to meet me somewhere in Oklahoma City, and we're going to all try to do lunch together as soon as we have a final place.
We enjoyed
we'll
having
do that
you
announcement.
to dinner with us when we went.
Now, that was a kick. There was something unique about that dinner as well.
There was. So as we're talking, we realized that the lady that was serving us, her sister had passed away from fentanyl poisoning as well. So we added her into our group. It's unfortunately a small world
Yeah.
with that.
Yeah, that was cool. I think I have a picture from the group. Dinner was wonderful. It was just way cool. I don't know how many people at the table you guys already knew, and how many you had met that day.
I'd say half we knew and half we met that day.
But the
Yes, we met some new
dynamic,
groups. hmm
the
Then I met
dynamic is way
some.
cool. That immediately or almost immediately, everybody everybody connects, and it's there's a real magic to that. I should load some of those pictures so that it would be easy for me to show them, but I haven't done that. He needs to get some nutrition with those lifesavers, though. I do. I do. I tend to eat pretty responsibly. I don't remember what I had at the restaurant in Jacksonville, but I imagine it was something responsible.
You probably had a burger
I
or
don't.
steak.
I don't think so. I
Steak?
think maybe.
Mhm.
I tend to go for fish.
Fish?
Yeah, I tend to look for fish, and I get steaks a lot, but rarely do I ever eat burgers or
Okay,
pasta or,
that was probably me.
well, could have
Had the
been.
burger.
Could have been. It's okay. Dinner was delicious. Yeah, it was. Wendy probably remembers what I got. Brenda's a good cook. Is that right? So
Wendy, we need to have another dinner.
we do. We do. It looks like I'm going to be going back to Pensacola. Uh, I realize it's not exactly close to Jacksonville, but it's closer to Jacksonville than it is to Houston. So there's that.
True.
And
There's
so
that
it looks like I'll be going back to Pensacola in near the end of August, I believe, and where was I? Let's see, August 25th and 26th. It looks like that's going to happen. Yeah, let's get dinner on the calendar. Okay, Wendy, but you might have to come to Pensacola,
road
and
trip.
just pop over. Oh, listen to you. Wendy, holy cow, you guys remember Wendy. Did you guys know Wendy before, or did you meet her there?
We knew her before
Yeah.
with our little group of people here in Jacksonville.
Our Jack's Pack.
Jack's back. Right.
Yeah, met some great people there. Wendy, Ashley, and the whole crew.
Wow. Okay, have we? Ashley's in the group right now, I think.
Jesse will drive.
Jesse will drive. Oh, cool. Now that'll be some kind of big carpool event where you guys all load up in a car and come to Pensacola.
I'm down.
And all right, it'll be a great time. Then we'll just have to plan for it to be a good long dinner. I'm sorry. Let me catch up on some of the comments over here. There are uh, a whole bunch of. I saw that I need some nutrition. Thank you very much. We're so proud of you for doing this, and so glad you had the opportunity. We love you guys. Is Jackie Caslin?
Yep,
I guess
she's our
that's
good friend. Her and Ed.
cool. Okay, there was another comment. There's a comment from. I remember someone asking me a question, or something. Brad says we all go to Brenda's. Yeah, we talked about that. There was a special night of healing and bonding. Wendy talking about the dinner in Jacksonville. I think there is this healing and bonding that happens the whole time. There was times where there's some magic that happens just in the waiting area when you guys are waiting for your time for the interview. I was oh Grace said I've watched every single story several times. Each parent gives me comfort in knowing I'm not alone. Bad choices these days with fentanyl are no longer a life lesson but a death sentence. Uh,
That is true.
yeah. So I'm hearing a little bit of interference from you guys sound wise. Do you? I don't know. Okay. So anyway, now you muted yourselves. I see what's going on. Brenda, can you cook? Okay, I'm trying to get caught up. Brenda says, poor Brad. Poor Brad. I'm always glad Brad's here because when Brad's here, I'm not the oldest guy in the room. And Brad is one of the storytellers in Rain's story on our channel. That was one of the. I feel like the event in San Antonio where we shot the interviews with Carla and Brad and Moses and the gang. We did that in San Antonio, and that would have been either like the second or third event that we've done where we recorded stories. Brad doesn't have any teeth, so it has to be soft. Okay. Well, gosh, Brad, when you jump right in, you take all the fun out of giving you grief about your age. But anyway, road trip. Yeah, y'all come on down. We'll, if you want to do a road trip, you're welcome to join us for lunch in Oklahoma City. I'm just saying.
That's a little bit more than just a road trip. That's an airplane trip.
Doesn't have to be. I wind up driving a lot. Driving works out great because of the gear for me. And then also there's an extra bit of flexibility. If I drive, there's the gear. There's those t-shirts. The t-shirts, they take up a lot of space. I can't, that would be hard to fly with enough t-shirts to give everyone that we talk to. And so that works out better for driving. Shipping the t-shirts later, it's not the same. It's not, because I got this whole little spiel that I do when I hand you a t-shirt. I tell you about the store that we have on our channel and how it's got t-shirts and hoodies and sweatshirts and coffee mugs, but it doesn't have that shirt.
Yep, we earned that shirt, unfortunately.
Yeah.
And then when I picked my size, you told me, okay.
Golly.
I picked a small, and obviously I'm not a small, but
Well,
you just kind of looked at me like, if that's what you want.
well, you're like close to my height, and I just would, yeah. See, 'cause I probably said when I asked you about what size, I probably said because I ain't guessing.
Yep.
Because I usually say that to women at least. To dudes, I don't care so much, but yeah, and then, and then I kind of thought in my head, Good job. Good job. So
Thank you.
he said the same about my size. Well, yeah, Carla, and probably had the same thought too. Ultimately, good job. And that seems likely. Margaret and Peggy, Margaret A. Peggy Maloney. At the end, you could not have predicted it would have happened at that sober house. Yeah, that that's the thing. That now, now I've been through enough of these stories that yeah, there's some problems at in sober living facilities and but it's kind of what you've got. There's a lot of very committed, motivated people in recovery who help people in recovery too, and we've met a lot of them. But there is also a definite lack of oversight, and there is this kind of I don't know. It's so hard to figure out what's a good recovery place, what's a good sober living place, what's a good rehab place, and what is not. What's just in it for the insurance money, and so it's so it's a real challenge. I was contacted by someone yesterday who was wondering what to do she was wondering what to do for her son who was ready to get into rehab but was living on the street, and she didn't know what to do. She's in Southern California and just wanted ideas. And I was kind of at a loss. I'm not an expert on recovery facilities or anything like that, but I certainly wanted to help her, and so gave her a few ideas and encouraged her to come back here again. Told her about all of the recovery stories that are on our channel. We have a lot of recovery stories on our channel. There's over 40, and but it's very helpless feeling to me to be in the spot where I didn't have an answer. I couldn't help her. So Pat says most people associated with rehab are out for the money. Only might as well let us junkies die. That wasn't Pat. That's Brenda talking to Pat. And Pat says it certainly seems that way. So getting a little interference from your mic there, Jesse. So who else is with us? Who else has questions for our storytellers here? Pat had said there are problems with the. Did I see some other face move in the picture? No, no. Okay, I don't know. Just hallucinating, I guess. So it can happen. The problems with the facilities, problems with law enforcement officers not doing their job, problems with the peddlers being out. In no time, the deck is absolutely stacked against us, Pat says. And yeah, that's a real thing. It's really hard to find help. One consistent aspect to a whole bunch of these stories is the absence of any interest in pursuing an investigation by the police department or by whatever law enforcement agency responded to the scene or whatever law enforcement uh, agency was responsible for investigating or choosing not to. So Canine is asking, how did you find out that the sober house employee was bringing in drugs?
So in conversation, because he had had a relapse at one point and was about to get kicked out, and I was talking to him like, how, like, is this even happening? And he had talked to me about how, I mean, they're all addicts in the house, and you have an addict in charge of the rest of the addicts, and they're doing the best that they can. They're all addicts, mom. So that was that was our first little indication. Like, so everything happened really fast once he started, or once he had his relapse. So he had told me that, but he wouldn't tell me who it was. He wouldn't say anything. But then also through text, we were talking, and he alluded to the same conversation. Yeah. Well, that's how.
So what happened? Pat's wife is asking if there's any repercussions against the employee. Was there any kind of investigation at all? Anything in the sober living facility or anything to did
No, they said there was no proof. There really wasn't much discussion about it. We had mentioned it to, I can't even remember his name anymore. Like, this is what I'm talking about, how your mind just goes blank. And then
Right.
for us, unfortunately, we didn't pursue um answers enough in our minds. Like, he's gone, and there's nothing we could do about it. We were grieving. We didn't push it.
Right.
And when we contacted the police department, you did. Like, we just didn't get anywhere. We couldn't even get his belongings back.
You wow. Yeah, it's peculiar to me, for the last 14 years or so, we've worked often with law enforcement agencies. We've done the Houston Police Department is one of our pretty big clients for for production stuff, and we've done several documentaries for them and some training videos for them, things like that. And we've done work with Mothers Against Drunk Driving, which means a lot of law enforcement stuff. I have my own vest. I have my own bulletproof vest. I think I told Jesse. I think we talked about that before your interview, and I explained how it makes me taller when I put it on. That my IQ goes down, but it makes me taller. So there is another version of that joke too. Yeah, y'all figured it out. I could tell. So all of the law enforcement that that I've worked with have been great. Thing is, all of the law enforcement that I've worked with were also all officers that were handpicked by command staff as being appropriate to put a guy with a camera with. So there's that, and in the course of doing all this, I've done tons of ride-alongs. I've seen a guy tased. I've seen a lot of really tragic DWI related stuff, and in the course of all that, I have seen officers on the scene that clearly weren't very interested in doing anything other than the minimum. So let me see where we're at here in the chat. Brenda says, Brad, I'll need to thoroughly vet the 5-year plan to confirm it wasn't written by a con man a front man and a lawyer. Brad says, I can tell you all about it. Carlin knows about it also. Are you talking about law enforcement, Brad? We fight for those in recovery. Addiction killed my son slowly. Fentanyl took his life, says Shawneen Hall. I would definitely trust Carla to educate me on the 5-year plan, Brad. I feel that you would embellish the plan. Oh, you guys. You guys are a kick. So, what other questions you guys have for our storytellers who have been so gracious to join us in this live event? Jay, this is what you call an awkward pause. Isn't that great? I don't know what I can do. I can play the Texas Picture Stories That Matters video. Steven Sanchez, hearing stories from people like you have helped. Thank you. And thank you, Texas Pictures. Much love from Arizona. Steven, did we meet when we were in Phoenix? I'm awful with names. I keep getting Jesse's name wrong.
Keep calling him Belcher instead of Burger King.
Belchy King.
Belchy. He's that too.
The burpy boy and the gas man. So yeah, I just, that's how guys say I care about you. They do it by giving each other shit. That's really it. Isn't that right, Brad? Brad, I'm sorry. Somebody stand on your oxygen line, Brad. You with us? See, that's just, for women, they'll get together and they'll pick up a gallon of ice cream and sit down and watch the Hallmark Channel in their pajamas and eat the whole gallon. And guys will just throw out a wrong name or make a joke about age or, I don't know, haircut.
So Pat had a question asking about what the pastor said or felt. So the pastor, that is my brother. He it took a lot out of him too, because he had his own issues in life. He used to use meth every day for probably 10 years, until one day while he was really high on meth and mushrooms, he felt God talk to him. And that day forward, he had never touched any of that again, and he's turned his life around. So when he found out that, Zach had passed, because when I talked to him, I said, everything was great at that point. When I called him later and told him what had happened, I think it really cemented into his mind that he's on the right path in life, trying to help people. Where he lives at there in Georgia, the church he ministers at, they have a program for drug addiction. They have, I think, 30 or 40 beds where people can come in and they help them, like a sober living, but through the church. Mm-hmm. So it's really, I think this just cemented in his mind that he's, doing the right thing in life. And then Brenda's asking, when he was isolating, did we feel it was just a teenage phase? We did.
Yeah, we felt it was a teenage phase. We're pretty resilient. We thought, our kids were pretty resilient, and that, I mean, we were there for them, but I, I don't even know. See, this is what I mean by shut down. But, we thought it was a phase. We thought he was just going through, smoking weed, trying a couple things, and then he was going to get out of it. And they're really good at fooling us too, letting us know or see what they want us to see and giving us the answers and not telling us full disclosure. He was working at a horse farm, and he really liked it, and he was taking initiative there. We're thinking, okay, you're doing good, but
Right.
not so much.
But- and there is also this tendency to want to believe you're doing good, even if you're not. You want to say, yeah, okay, I'm not quite there. You'll tell yourself, I'm not quite there, but I know I'm going to get there. I'm just not doing it yet. And so it's not even like a deliberate kind of deception. It's kind of optimism, or I suppose you could call it denial. But I think the difference between optimism and denial is just attitude. Attitude of the
True.
people that are hearing it.
He had attitude, but he also closed us out too. And I think a lot of people, like, they don't communicate their struggles, and he didn't communicate. Um, so we struggle with what could we have done more to find out what the depths were of his problems and what he was going through, so we could have helped better. But he left us in the dark.
Well,
So,
Jess,
yeah, I'm just going to answer. So Margaret was asking if he knew about fentanyl-laced drugs. I'm sure he did. Zach was a thrill seeker, so I'm sure he probably had tried it before. Um, just, I'm sure he knew about it. It was not necessarily the night that he passed away. He probably didn't think the pills had, fentanyl. But it's hard to say.
right?
Well, when he had relapsed, I asked him, I'm like, what did you do? Like, talk to me. So he told me there was cocaine, there was ketamine,
Hmm.
Mm.
that's what I remember. And then, like, just a mixture of stuff, but it was never like, oh yeah, we're having fentanyl. But
Right. Yeah, and as far as deception goes, for all of us, the very first thing all of us learn is how to manipulate others. It's the very first thing of when we're a month old, we figure out screaming will get us what we want, even if we don't know what we want. It's like it's the very first thing we learn, and we all learn it. And it's usually not with any kind of malice, you know. There's this thing that I tend to tell people. I don't know if I mentioned it to you guys during the interview or not, but I like to I like to tell storytellers that the last part of a person's life is oftentimes, and maybe every time, someone else's lesson. And there's no consolation, but that is important and kind of beautiful. So, not to bring everything down.
well, we've definitely had humor through it all. Like, we've had dark humor. One of our son just had a baby, and like we're watching his baby, and they're handing over us. I'm like, hey, well, I managed to keep most of my kids alive. I'm gonna keep this one alive too. So we just do humor like that, and
Right.
just find different things. And when Zach first passed, man, we cried everywhere. We cried at Bucky's. We cried at Winn-Dixie was a big one. Um,
Target
Target. We didn't go to Target much.
like once.
Okay, well, we broke down to Target. Just
What?
I don't know. Yeah, we just we try to find humor when we can in the hard times.
That is, there's something, there's definitely something to be said for dark humor.
We
That
have it.
it's that, and that's good. I think there is a confidence in dark humor. It kind of screams that you've got this in a place in your head that you're gonna survive with. And so congratulations, that, but wow, dark humor is, I can't do it.
Dark.
I can't do dark humor with you guys, with any of the storytellers. Now when I'm editing and I'm working on a story, I I wind up crying during the edit process once. I mean, not like blithering middle school girl who lost her puppy crying, but I get choked up, a tear or two. uh, But yeah, there'll be a little bit of dark humor that goes on in my head then, and it's sort of a coping mechanism, I suppose. It's funny to me because I'm screwed up, I guess. I don't know. But it's funny. Some of it's funny. Yeah. The stories really break down into before, during, and after. And so there's this formula that it starts with. And it just leads me along that I'm just I'll get lost in what I'm doing, and I'll have to stop, and I'll say to myself, "Wait a minute, is he dead yet?" And how do you wind up there? And it's very weird, but I do find some humor in it. Okay, so addiction provides an endless supply of dark humor. Yes, Brenda, it certainly does. Cindy Bennett, have we seen you here before? I'm not sure. And I see Margaret is back again. That's awesome. Cindy, yes, we're Sunshine 888. Wonderful person, Zachary. Sounds like you're both amazing parents. And speaking of Zachary, let's see where the story is at now in terms of views. And I can also share that I feel a sneeze coming on. And so in a moment or so, I'm going to wind up laminating this microphone or something because I can feel it creeping up on me. Yes, Cindy, I thought so. There's a couple of Bennett people who we see in the group pretty regularly. So, right now, Zachary's story has received 1,986 views so far. I'm sorry, 1,990. So 1,990 views. I'm sorry, 1,994 views. And right now, our average, okay, 1999, our average is in at this point, after a new story is published, our average is 830 to 2,000 views, and Zach's story is at 2,003 views now. So it is the high end of the average, or slightly above the high end of our average, and so
Oh, wow.
that's awesome. Sorry. So it's always exciting to me to share with the storytellers that their loved one's story is doing well. It's I don't know that it's reaching people, that Zach is out there saving lives.
Yeah, that's our hope, is like something good has to come from this. Like, and we'll never know. We may never know if anybody's life got affected or it helped, but that's what we're believing, is that it is.
I think it must, and there are people that you will hear from in the comments on the story that will say so. They'll tell you that these stories saved my life. Brenda comes to mind, and Deidre also. Hello, Lori. Welcome. Thank you for being here. We've seen you in here before, right? Right. It seems like I've seen your name before. And so, in the course of getting now on YouTube, there is morons also, and so there will be some comments that are one way or another. Well, you could label them as dark humor, I suppose.
To be expected.
But there will be comments from people who are very grateful and thankful to have heard the story and grew from it. Canine says, know that it is helping all of us. I
Thank
was
you.
typing how the storytellers saved my life when you said my name. See, Brenda is one of those. I'd swear she says something about how the story saved her life every time we do a chat, and I certainly never get tired of hearing it.
It's okay to shed a tear, Glenn.
Thank you there, Barfy King. What is it? Yeah. So Cindy says she always enjoys the storytellers. I think it is great. I have this is it's a little different when we have guests, when we have a second, when we got this 2-window action going on here. Again, I don't know how to get back to where. Dun, dun, dun. That's it. So it gets kind of confusing to me because there's so many. What's in my cup? It's just coffee, Brad. It's just coffee. That's it. Just coffee. Hey, I can't taste the bourbon at all. I'm sorry. Never mind. So, anyway, look at that. That's all bourbon too, isn't it, Mandy? Yeah, must just look at that. Wow, That's why. Just fill it up once all day long, and off you go. So see, that's kind of dark humor too, because there's alcoholics in the group that are certainly sports about it. The flip side of being saved by Glenn and the storytellers is the survivor's guilt. I deal with when a 19-year-old was taken to heaven instead of me, a 58-year-old female who had a wonderful life until fentanyl came along.
I have a brother that has been on the streets for most of his life, on drugs and doing fentanyl right now. I don't know how he's still alive, to be honest. And the few times that I did get to talk to him, he expressed that too about, why is he still here and Zach's gone. I do have a friend also that when this happened, her son was going through some things, and she told me later on she didn't want to come to me and talk to me because she felt so bad that her son was still here. So she felt that same thing about,
Guilt.
Yeah.
that survivor's guilt feeling. So I've experienced that before, and it's it's totally understandable. And from our point, like, we're just, no, I'm glad you're alive. I'm glad you're here. I'm glad you've recovered. I'm glad there is recovery for some. Although it's super sad for us that our son didn't have that chance. It was so hard to watch, like, graduations and, especially soon as it happened, because he would have just have graduated, not like around that time. But and seeing families with like birthday parties or their kids driving their cars and all that stuff. But even though it was sad for us, it was still, we're happy for everybody else. Like, I wouldn't wish any harm on anybody or survivor's guilt on anybody. None of that.
It's that someone else's lesson thing. There's a whole lot of growth that happens to a lot of people when a tragedy like this comes along. There's what happens for the people that are close to you, and then what happens with the strangers, with these people that you meet through the tragedy, like Wendy and the other people in Jacksonville, and then strangers like Brenda, who's not really a stranger anymore, and Brenda is at almost 9 months clean, and it feels amazing. That's so awesome. Keep pushing better days to tomorrow. I am a recovering addict, and this video is helping me. You guys hearing that, right? This video is helping me. He's talking about Zach. This video is helping me. I've been sober
Thank
for
you.
a little under a year.
And that's all we could hope for, is to help.
And
To
so
help.
for every one of those that you hear, there's 100 or 1,000 that you don't hear but are there. It's such a cool thing.
And like, another thing too is, like, if you encounter somebody that's lost a family member, a child to this, don't be afraid to talk to them. Bring up their name.
Yes.
You're not reminding us. It's always going to be there. And it's it makes me happy anyways, if friends of mine bring up Zach's name or listen when we're talking about Zach, because you're not reminding us. Don't be afraid.
Yeah. Now, I've heard that a few times from storytellers. Don't be afraid to say the loved one's name. When we post announcements about this, about a new story going public or premiering in Facebook, there's always some of our storytellers will comment in the announcement, and they'll just say the victim's name. They'll just say Zachary exclamation point or Hart, Zachary Hart, or whatever kind of cheesy chick thing they do. But it's always saying the person's name because they know. The storytellers, the ones who have lost someone, they know how important it is to hear the name. Okay, so I see a thing. I see a thing from Sunshine 888. Would you recommend having Narcan and enough of it in the home? And okay, here's a couple of things. Now we're gonna see if I can just we're gonna Jesse and Mandy, you guys are gonna be off screen for a minute. So if you gotta let something go, now would be a good time. So we're just gonna go over to me for a minute, and because you brought up Narcan, and some of you know what's coming, I'm sure. That here we go. So whenever Narcan comes up, I always talk about this. I always want people to remember Naloxone is the drug. Narcan is simply a brand name. All 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. All 6 of these products have the same active ingredient. They all have Naloxone. Only one of them says Narcan, but they all have Naloxone. So there's that. The key thing is Naloxone, not Narcan. Even though, holy cow, Narcan's a better word for sure. It's so much easier, and it's become a verb. They Narcaned him 2 or 3 times. It was in Zach's story. Time for Glenn's soapbox, Brenda says. Yeah, I see that. But yeah, for sure, have Naloxone in your home. Look. I have some right here. This says Narcan. But
that's just a brand name.
Hi, thanks, Mandy. Wow. Sassy. Okay, so let me see if I can get back to that. Look, I think I'm gonna make it happen. Ta-da! You guys are back. Holy cow! I mean, I should do
All of
that
our
whole thing
kids
without screwing
too.
it up. So
All of our kids have Naloxone, whatever, Narcan. All of our kids have Narcan on them for if they encounter it
Naloxone.
again. That,
Naloxone. Yeah, that stuff.
that.
Hey, it's on the box, right underneath the word Narcan. It says Naloxone HCI nasal spray, 4 milligrams. And all of the ones in the picture I just showed you guys, everything in the picture is identical. It has the same drug, the same dose, except one of them, the brand is called Cloxato, has an 8 milligram dose. And some harm reduction people say that the 8 milligram dose is more likely to put the victim into an immediate state of withdrawal. And so they say no to Cloxato. And I don't know what that means. That means just let the guy die because he might go into withdrawal. According to the Journal of the American Medical Association, a higher initial dose, like 8 milligrams instead of 4 milligrams, appears, they didn't quite commit fully, but appears to perform a few seconds quicker. And holy cow, when you're talking about hypoxia, when you're talking about the brain being deprived of oxygen, seconds matter in a gigantic way. And so I'm not saying everybody needs to go out and get Cloxato because it's double the dose, but for harm reduction people to say no to Cloxato, that is just grossly irresponsible. There's 2 doses in here. A lot of times, overdose victims get 2 or 3 or 4 or 9 doses before there's a result. And so, yeah, any version is going to, any size dose is going to put the victim into a state of withdrawal for some period. When people are revived with naloxone, they tend to wake up in a bad mood. Right? I see.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, he had bit too, like all of his tongue. It was all tore up,
Wow.
like all on the sides, like just everywhere. He was not happy when he got when he in the hospital
Because
when he
they've
woke
lost
up.
their high.
Mhm.
They lost whatever they had going. Whatever the last thing is that they remember, they're not going to remember going out and passing out, but they're going to remember where they were at before then, and there was probably some anticipation of the kind of reward that they expect from using. Do you kids know about swans? I'm sorry, I just got distracted. It's like bright, colorful lights over here. I see this, but I saw this from Brenda. Do you know about Swan's new free book about peer pressure? Yeah, it's called The 1001 Responses to Peer Pressure or something like that. The book is found at fentanylfathers.org at the bottom of the page. I will try to post a link to the PDF. Yeah, it seems like people had problems posting links here before, but it's a cool book that Greg and his son worked on, and there were some other high school students that were contributing authors or contributing editors or some such thing. Greg told me, I forget. Greg tells me so much stuff. If for those of you who know Greg will call me up and he'll say, "Hey Glenn, it's Greg. Brrr. All right, that's it. Gotta go." And so sometimes I miss stuff, but Greg's an awesome guy. Zachary passed away 4 years ago. Is that right? Am I remembering that right? 2011. I'm sorry, 21. Yeah, I don't know what I'm at.
Yep, 5/5/2021. And it's debatable whether he passed away on the 4th, because I was texting him up until about a little after 11 that night. And then, he just never responded back. And I thought, well, maybe just, he was done and fell asleep, whatever. And yeah, and then I found out the next day. So to me, it doesn't matter. It's just when I found out, which was on the 5th.
Yes, Carla, you know what it's like talking to Greg. Holy cow. I don't get how he keeps his sanity. He calls it drinking from a fire hose, but he seems to have that going on continuously. He is certainly gold for the cause. And if those of you who don't know, Greg is with an organization called Fentanyl Fathers, and I'm with the organization as well. The organization's goal is to bring fentanyl awareness presentations to every high school and middle school in the United States. And so we've done a bunch in Florida, a bunch in quite a few in Texas, all over, I believe, 17 states or so right now. Greg can certainly talk faster than I'm capable of listening, Pat says. And, well, yeah, that's Greg. We should probably get him in on one of these live things sometime. And that way it's recorded so you can jump back and forth. When I hear the phrase man on a mission, I think of Greg Swan. Yeah, he is on it like Oprah on a baked ham. He is on it like a rat on a Cheeto. He is on it like Biden on a flight of stairs. No, maybe that's going too far. I don't know.
That was good. Don't worry about that.
I'm in Tampa, Florida. Not much support here. Well, there's support here. In this group, there's support. And on the channel. And we also have a private Facebook group that is for people who have shared stories with us and people who want to, at some point, share a story with us. And it takes you can't find it by searching for it, but if you message me on Facebook, friend me, be my friend, and let me know that you want to be in the group, and I will send you an invite. And right now the group has around 550 people in it, I believe. And about half of them are people who've shared their stories with us. So I believe that Belcher King here has been is in the group, maybe. Yeah. All right, folks. Well, we've tied up Mandy and Jesse for a little bit over an hour now, so we're gonna let them go, and at some point soon we're gonna wrap things up here. I'm really lots of stigma here. Lots of stigma here in Tampa. Not here in the group, though. Anyway, so Manny and Jesse, thank you very much for being here with us. Really grateful for you guys to be sharing your story and to be a part of this and do something that draws something positive out of your loss. So very, very grateful. And
Thank
so
you.
we're gonna let you guys go, and you can continue on with your evening. I know it's getting late there, and I know, So, thanks for joining us, folks. Yeah, I didn't.
Thank you.
There you go. Okay, yeah, you got to turn the mic on first, and then speak.
Okay. Thank you for this opportunity, and thank you for all the wonderful conversation in the chat and the questions and just being like, thank you.
Well, thank you. And so we will talk to you soon. You guys can because what is it? It's like 9 o'clock where you're at, right?
Yeah, we're hungry.
Yeah. Okay.
Just kidding.
All right. Well, we'll talk to you soon, and for the viewers, we're gonna stay live for just a little bit longer, but we're gonna let Mandy and Jesse get on out of here. So, thanks a lot. All right. So, how cool was that to have Mandy and Jesse joining us for this for this live event after the premiere of their story? Let me just figure out how to end this. And okay, there we go. Look, hot dog. I know what I'm doing. All right, folks. So now we're back more to the usual kind of operation. How did that happen? Nope, 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 nope. Don't do that. No, can we just look at there? Okay, there we go. I really screwed some stuff up here trying to figure things out, but we got it good. So, how is everybody doing tonight? Carla says, I hope Brenda is okay with cooking for everyone in the Oklahoma area. Lila Muse is here. Holy cow. That would be my mom. She says, your presentation was very good. It will help many parents who are concerned with how to handle difficult topics with their children. Parenting is hard. Yeah. Parenting is hard. Thank you for being here, Mom. So Carla says, thank you for sharing your precious son's story with us. Thank you for sharing your son's story. And Mandy Miller sends a big pink heart, which is way cool. So, oh, holy cow. You understand I have buttons here that I can just make someone go away out of the chat. You know that, right? Does a coffee cup for sale on your Texas Pictures show, correct? Okay, actually, I'm looking into getting getting a substantial quantity of these, to anyway. So Brenda asks Lila, how was raising Glenn? Now that's just, yeah, yeah, I can, there's just little, what kind of buttons do I have? What kind of things I can put the user in timeout. You know, I can do that. And I can remove a message, just poof, just like that. So we're not going too far down that, what was it like raising Glenn road? Because that was a long time ago. And, so we can't be doing that. What's in the cup? It's empty now. Nothing's in the cup. I don't know. I mean, there's no grime, but it's empty. It's like nothing. Nothing. I got this. This is just water. Won't be your first time out. I see. Okay, so I feel like I need to remind you guys of all the places that we're going to be shooting in coming up. Wow. Okay. All right, so we have the Oklahoma City lunch coming up. That's going to be, I feel like it's June 15th. It's a Sunday, right? Brad, that's right, right? Yeah, Lila says he was good, but I'm sure there was much I didn't know. Well, of course there was much you didn't know. That's how it works. That's the same for all parents. So so we have a lunch in Oklahoma City on the 15th, and then we're going to be in Kansas, in Wichita, Kansas, shooting stories. From Wichita, we go to Denver. And in Denver, we're going to be shooting stories that are primarily about cannabis induced psychosis, which I'm just now starting to learn about. I'm at the place in this topic that I was at with fentanyl 3 years ago. And so I'm learning about it, but uh, the schedule in Denver is 2.5 days, and the schedule filled up fast, like within the first 72 hours of the page for signing up to share your story being public, the whole schedule was full. Brenda says it's called reflection time now because timeout is considered bullying. Yeah. YouTube still calls it timeout. And YouTube tends to be a pretty considerate, a pretty sensitive organization when it comes to using the right words. So they still approve calling it timeout. So that's interesting to me. Brenda says, I left the choosing lunch committee. I'll show up wherever. Okay, it could be that I just wind up Googling the restaurants in Oklahoma City, and I just pick one. Because all I would do is look for one that has a comfortable environment. That I think is a really big thing. Something like a sports bar, like a wings place or something. Something that it's easy for people to kind of come and go over the course of a couple of hours, maybe. But I'm up for whatever. I have been around, and I'm just grateful if there is a waiter. Yeah. Oh, look. I have pictures. All right, so anyway, it's called Brenda's Cafeteria. How? You think? I don't know. I don't. It always seems to me that having an event at someone's house is asking someone to have a much more extensive burden before, during, and after the event than everybody else. So that seems a little bit rough to me. But I could be wrong. It's going to happen one day. So Glenn, didn't you say you wanted to eat at Toby Keith's? That's right, Carla. I forgot. Toby Keith's. It's right by it had that little river thing that ran right by it. It kind of reminded me of the Riverwalk in San Antonio, like a shorter version of that. It was right next to the hotel I stayed in the last time I was in Oklahoma City. And yeah, it seems like Toby Keith's is the way to go. I forget. But yes, So Toby Keith's is the way to go. And I've got messages coming in over here. So yes, Toby Keith's. I'm not hearing any objections to Toby Keith. So let's try to just plan for that, and I will post something on our channel saying we're going to go there, because it's a good kind of open environment. I remember there was a band playing when I was there. I was there with my wife, and there was a band, but it's a nice open casual kind of thing where we can, just kind of invade however many tables we need to invade, and kind of wander around from table to table and visit with people, and just be very laid back. Brad and Brenda are best friends. Brad. So Brad's band will play for free. How sweet is that? Now, I don't know if Toby Keith's place has ramps. So, I'm if they have ramps, it'll be okay, I'm sure. Right. So, anyway, it is about time to wrap it up, folks. I don't know where we're at. I want to ask you guys, though, is there anything that you would like to ask me about the channel? We have gotten to where the group is primarily the usual suspects, and that is fantastic. But in the course of doing that, I don't want to wind up leaving anybody out. If there's anyone who has any questions that they would like to ask me, or ask about the channel, or ask about our stories, anything like that, holy cow, please feel free. Friends like the Hatfields and McCoys. Can we do a show on the stigma? Yeah. There are several stories that address the stigma in some kind of secondary kind of way. I don't think there's anything that talks about the stigma specifically. I think that would be a good thing, though. Yeah, I can certainly see a story, some kind of story addressing stigma. Maybe we talked earlier about dark humor. Maybe that's an ideal place for dark humor, is addressing stigma, and come down kind of hard with dark humor on the people who embrace stigma. How the stigma affects the living families. My son's story is a little different, and it's horrible. I would speak on this. Okay, Shawneen, we can make it happen. If you're not in our Facebook group, you should be. To be in our Facebook group, all you need to do is just friend me on Facebook and then message me asking me to invite you to the group. Great idea. The stigma needs to be reduced so more people won't be afraid to ask for help. I let stigma stop me for years. And there is still, some of the people that we've talked to have friends who have lost a loved one to fentanyl who don't want to acknowledge it to anybody. One of our stories, we've even been threatened with a lawsuit from a family member who said that it's not accurate. My loved one didn't die from fentanyl. It was a heart issue. And you know, that puts us in an awkward spot because the storyteller and the other person both lost someone, and they're finding their own pathway to deal with the grief. And so puts us in a delicate spot because I don't want to don't want to conflict, but in the case of this story, the person saying that the loved one died from a heart issue, we had the toxicology report, and so we tried to help as best we could and sort it out. So no, it's not the dark humor. No, I think Shanine, I think you're missing my point. I felt like we could use dark humor to make fun of the people who embrace stigma. Do something that belittles even people who let stigma interfere with their humanity. Let stigma keep them from finding the compassion that any human deserves. And sort of a a way to use video to punch them in the face. My son's mugshot was posted across the country. He died from fentanyl, just like just every other loved one. We're glad to share your story whenever you're ready. When the drugs stop our breathing, funny, the heart quits working and the death certificates say, heart, this is why I don't trust data on fentanyl death. Yeah, there's some really questionable aspects regarding how data is managed. There's plenty of times when a fentanyl death can be identified as something else erroneously, or because the medical examiner is some elected official who has no qualifications and just kind of wings it. The challenge about the numbers is that how do you know? Where's if the numbers that we can find aren't accurate, where do you find numbers that are? It's a really tough spot. Oh, okay. So you get the whole point about the dark humor to ridicule people who use stigma as a filter to keep from letting someone matter. They cannot differentiate fentanyl from an opioid poisoning or overdose, is what my medical examiner told me. It's very hard to track. I don't know. That sounds peculiar to me. We've seen a lot of toxicology reports that identify fentanyl specifically, or they'll identify fentanyl and carfentanil and other stuff as well, but it'll break down but it will, but the toxicology report, not the autopsy, the toxicology report oftentimes takes weeks or months. Brenda says, show, don't worry about mugshot during active addiction. Show says, don't worry about the mugshot during active addiction. My picture should have been in every post office for petty crimes all the way up. People love to lie about addicts and addiction. There are so many Latina Snow. There are so many overdoses in Jacksonville, Florida, that the police have a unit devoted solely to overdose deaths in Duval County. Latina, I don't know if you were here earlier, but we were talking about probably having some sort of dinner in Jacksonville, and there is going to be some sort of carpool from Jacksonville to, dinner or lunch or dinner in Pensacola, and there's probably going to be some sort of carpool event traveling from Jacksonville to Pensacola with several of our storytellers. So that could be coming up. Let me just holler at the dog for a minute. Maybe that worked. We'll see. Yeah, the more the merrier. Carla, I'm pretty sure my husband will want to go on a date too. Oh, I see where we're going with this. I agree, Brenda is stigmatized by bullies who think he deserves to die. Absolutely horrendous. Gave me a heart attack. I'm a year and a half in. And is your dog friendly? Yes, the dog's very friendly. But he thinks danger is everywhere. Carla, did you hear about the new cafe for dogs and people in Oklahoma City? Oh. Is this serious or is this some sort of dark humor? So the thing that I wanted to talk about stigma is there's been several storytellers who know parents that lost a loved one to fentanyl who don't want to acknowledge that they lost a loved one to fentanyl. They use other stories instead. They make things up. They say their loved one had a heart issue or had a stroke, something like that. Don't want to talk about it, don't want to acknowledge it at all, didn't acknowledge it at the service, and it's unfortunate that there's parents out there that are having to endure that extra kind of suffering. A sheriff told me he would shoot me dead if he could get away with it. Just another dead junkie. Wow, Brenda. That's harsh. His past, he has lots of arrests. That's addiction. We walked it with him. Why stigmatize a family trying to bring awareness? Yeah, it's terrible. The stigma thing, even people that are trying to help don't recognize when they're feeding into the stigma. I have a friend who told me, a friend who does awareness stuff in Alaska, and she told me about talking with an elected official and offered the elected official a kind of a overdose awareness kit that it had naloxone in it. It had naloxone in it and some other stuff and instructions. It was a cool little kit. And this elected official said, "No thanks, I don't need that. I talk to my kids." And the elected official said that to a bereaved parent, a parent who lost someone. What an idiot. I've noticed since watching the documentaries that the top three comorbidities in addiction seem to be depression, anxiety, and bipolar disorder. What about trauma? My son's choices in active addiction didn't define him or his family. They know what they are doing, and I wish I could post the screenshots. Well, Shanine, we can make a story out of it. We can. Welcome to email us anytime. Try something easier to say. My son had a substance use disorder. Work your way up with the strong words. I only use addict and junkie when talking about myself. I would never call another person. Shouting says it starts with mental health, substance abuse disorders, meth induced psychosis, and trauma. We hear about trauma a lot. That things change after the victim endured some kind of assault or sexual abuse or something traumatic, lost a loved one. He was called a junkie drug dealer, told everyone not to support me or honor my angel. Well, gee, Shanine, I don't know if I'm saying that anywhere close to right, but holy cow, uh, it doesn't work that way here. We don't turn people away. It sounds like your story would be an important story for viewers to be aware of. Trauma starts the process. They're trying to numb something. Maybe we could put together a show that is just about these the most ridiculous examples of how stigma of how ignorant stigma is. And it could be just different people sharing their experience that involves dealing with someone who demonstrates that stigma perspective. Maybe that would be good. Maybe call it something like Stigma Idiots. All right, folks. So it is about time to wrap things up for now, though. We have been on for how long? How long have we been on? Let me see. An hour and 40 minutes. How can you guys deal with me this long? So I always like to remind you guys how grateful I am for all of you and for all of the ways that you guys and for all of the ways that you guys support our message and our channel. And all of the ways that you guys help the cause. Stigma idiots. Yeah. Stigma idiots. Yeah, that would be good. That maybe something like stigma idiots, where mainly maybe the thing is to just laugh at them. In the course of laughing at them, you take away their power and you point out to the audience how foolish they are. Walter F27, that was good, Glenn. What? It is sad that these families are going through the worst emotional pain on each, and the stupid trolls come out with diarrhea of the mouth. I mean, it says diarrhea of the moth, but I'm pretty sure that's what you meant. Thank you for being here, Brad. Really appreciate you. Looking forward to seeing you in Oklahoma City. I can do it on screen share. How would we do that? Show and Walter didn't want to become an angel too soon either. I'm sorry, Walter. That was good, Glenn. What did I do? I don't know what I did. Good night and God bless. Good night, Brad. I can do it on screen share. Stigma idiots. That'd be good, right? That could be really good. All right. So anyway, good night, Brenda. K9, good night all. Thank you all for being here. So do it on screen share. If you send me an email, we can try to work something out to find a way to do it next time. To do something about it. We're going to have our next premiere. What is it? Wednesday, Friday, I guess. Our next premiere will be Friday, and hopefully we will have some sort of live event afterwards. We could be on the road. Not sure. So I always like to remind you folks about how easy it is to get in touch with us. Wow, I screwed up all kinds of stuff. Okay. I always like to remind you guys how easy it is to get in touch with us, so you can email us at info@texas-pictures.com. You can also find us on Facebook. You can find me on Facebook. My name, surely you saw it a few times, Glenn Muse. You can find me on Facebook, friend me, and join our storyteller group. And you can find us on TikTok. We are not very attentive to the messages on TikTok, but we're there. And there's our website, texas-pictures.com. And on our website, you can find our phone number, you can find our mailing address, and more information about sharing a story, about creating a storytelling summit in your area, and a link to our merchandise store. Show my email, bginmiller1@gmail.com. You asking me to... Okay, I understand now. All right, folks. So thank you very much, and we will talk to you next time. Good night.